It's our honor to have you join us for NAF Next 2020 Virtual. Our theme is Connect, Unite, Breakthrough. And that's exactly what we hope this event is for you. We hope you connect. You'll have a chance to connect with the presenters on the platform and with your colleagues via social media. And unite. We are committed to continue to strive towards the unity that we so desperately need right now. Breakthrough. Our hope is that this event will be a breakthrough for you. Maybe it's just the discovery of one nugget of information about advisory boards or internships or work-based learning. Or it's a personal breakthrough where you feel a renewed sense of purpose and mission in our goal to prepare all of our students to be future ready. As we get started today, there are a few important pieces of information you need to know. First, stay connected to NAF Next 2020 Virtual through Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just use the hashtag NAFNext20. On this platform, you'll also have the chance to chat with most of our presenters. So take advantage of that throughout the session and share ideas, questions, or even encouraging words. Each of the presenters has also provided resources, including their slide deck, with you. And you can access that right here. You don't have to wait until later, so feel free to download these resources and put them to use in your academy as you plan for the fall. Also, be sure to go to naf.org to see our latest resources. There will be a session evaluation for each session, and we'll provide that information at the end. Once again, thanks for joining us for this session. I believe you're going to find this next presenter incredibly helpful as they share their passion and insight with you. Enjoy.
Thanks for coming to check out my presentation. My name is Cliff Greer, Academy Director from Naples High School. So I run the Engineering Academy at Naples High. What I'm going to do is kind of give you some keys on having a successful NAF Academy. It'll be through the lens of Engineering Academy, but many of these things that I'm talking about can be applied to any discipline or any other type of NAF Academy from wherever you may be from. So it's a quick intro. My name is Cliff Greer. I'm an Engineering Academy Director at Naples High School in Naples, Florida. We've been a NAF Distinguished Academy for the last 3 years, which I'm very proud of. It's a great achievement for our staff and our students at our school. So I'm going to share some of the things that we do to get us that distinguished status. So before I get started, I always like to share my contact information. My cell phone's there, my email, and my Twitter. I'm always post stuff during the school year, pictures and videos, and cool things that we do in my classroom and things around the school. Business cards are a great tool for you to market yourself and to market your academy. You never know when you meet people, so I try to always have these on me when I go to conferences, when I go to meetings, when I go to different events for our school district where I can meet potential board members. I always keep this on me to make sure they can have my information. So as you guys check out my contact information, I have a quick intro video that will tell you a little bit more about myself and about our academy.
With a national award for his work in the classroom.
But he's taken an unusual path in getting there. Here's NBC2's Sean Martinelli with tonight's story to share.
You want to choose the XY plane right here.
Here at Naples High School, during lessons in subtractive modeling, engineering teacher Cliff Greer
What's the dimensions of the rectangle?
says he's exactly where he's meant to be,
Everybody see where you can change material?
even though Mr. Greer is not where he thought he would be.
If you'd have went and found my high school self and said, hey, you're going to be a teacher one day, I'd have told you were crazy. There's no way.
Cliff grew up in Akron, Ohio. He had dreams of playing college football until an injury sidelined those plans. So Cliff got an engineering degree at Ohio State instead, and a job in Florida soon followed.
I was just here by myself. I moved down on my own. Pretty much my first time not being anywhere near anybody I didn't know within probably an hour and a half away.
Cliff loved his job, but still felt like there was something missing. So he started coaching Pop Warner football and eventually got the attention of Naples High School head coach Bill Kramer, who told Cliff he could join their coaching staff. There was just one caveat. Cliff needed to become a teacher.
Went ahead and gave it a shot, and now I'm here.
Do you love it?
Oh, it's great. I love it. I love it. It hasn't felt like work at all. Make sure you extrude it all the way through.
Mr. Greer has become such a natural that he now oversees the school's engineering academy and won a national award in engineering teaching this fall. What can your students learn, not just about engineering, but what can they learn about life from somebody like Mr. Greer?
one of the important lessons that he teaches in all of his classes is to be open to all ideas, to be open to all possibilities and all solutions.
So you should have both now.
Because as Mr. Greer puts it, many students are pigeonholed from the moment they get to high school with their idea of a perfect career, when instead, he's an example that the perfect career might be the one they least expect.
Yep, and I'll show you how to move it in a minute.
In Naples, Sean Martinelli, NBC2.
Okay, so a little bit more about background. As you guys saw in the video, I am from Akron, Ohio. Anybody from the Midwest, you know, that was a manufacturing hub for rubber back in the good old days. So the joke I always tell people is I'm the second most famous guy from my hometown. I guess everybody knows who this guy is. So I guess I'm the second most famous guy from there. So, you know, as I said in the video, I went to Ohio State, got my degree in construction management, which is a hybrid of business and civil engineering from the Ohio State University, as you guys can see right there. So then from there, I actually moved to Naples. I had no idea where Naples was or what it was, could not point it out on the map, but I went to a job fair on campus, had an interview. They flew me down in January and it was 85 degrees. And I said, okay, it was pretty nice. So I'm going to be coming down here. So I worked for one of the largest private construction firms in the state at the time. Anybody that's ever heard of Florida Gulf Coast University? We built about 80% of that campus. I did some civil projects. If anybody's ever been to Fort Myers Beach, that's where this picture is from. I did the VA clinic in the Cape Coral area, which is it's also in Southwest Florida. And we also did a technical and trade school, the Immokalee Technical Center, which is in Immokalee, which is a migrant farming town about 45 minutes west of Naples. So let's talk about our school. So Naples High School, if you can check this out here. No, your eyes aren't deceiving you. This is the Gulf of Mexico right here. So our school is actually right over here in this area, right across the street from the mall. So, you know, our kids are not short of having any distractions while they're on campus. Here's our campus right here. We got 12 buildings. It's an open campus, kind of like a small college if you really looked at it as you walked around. We have all the letters that the honors classes, and we also have career academies. Okay, so at our school, we have two different NAF academies, engineering and IT. Our engineering curriculum is provided by Project Lead the Way. And then we have an entrepreneurship program also. A little more information about our academy. As far as Project Lead the Way goes, we offer 5 courses. Start with IED, and then we do SIM, we do POE, we do civil, and we've also added aerospace. One thing I always do, and you'll see this throughout the presentation, I always take pictures of cool things that my students do. It's good for marketing, good for things like this, and good for examples that you give people if they ever wonder what's going on in your classroom. All right, so how my classes go, and that's how all of our engineering courses are. It's open classroom, APB format, so activity, project, problem-based assignments. So what that really means is everything we do has a reason. We don't really give them busy work. I don't really make them copy notes. I give them the notes. We kind of go over some important concepts, and they use those as a tool to help them to work on their different assignments and projects. So there's never really a time where I'm sitting there talking for 45 minutes, and then they're just writing things down, and I give them a test on Friday. That's not how our classes work. Mostly paperless. We use Canvas. We've also used Google Classroom in the past. As I said before, there's a limited time of lecture, so it's not me just standing up there talking. You know, I'll give them a couple things each day that we talk about, and then they get to work on that on their own. And like I said before, you always want to identify the why of every activity and problem so that they understand that everything we're learning can be applied in the real world. All right, so the 4 points I'm going to focus on as far as keys to a successful academy: creation, promotion, maintenance, and growth. And I'm sure depending on where you are in developing your academy or running your academy, I'm sure that you can use the information I'm going to share with you here. So first, starting with creation, what you want to make sure you do is know your audience. Depending on where your school is located and the interests that your students have and the things that are needed in your community, you can kind of cater your classes to help your area and help keep your students interested in what you guys are doing. And you also need to make sure that you have support from your administration. So what that means is you know, hopefully you're not in a spot where your classes are a dumping ground where they just throw any kid that they want in there without having some type of requirements for admission into that academy, so that you can kind of focus and have a good group of kids that you can work with. Things I know that have worked in the past is making sure you're adding weight to your classes. We're in competition with the AP courses for our students. A lot of kids just take AP classes all day, even though they love what we're doing in our courses. The AP stuff is what gets them more college credit than what our classes do. So if you can get your classes weighted as highly as you can, that would be good. I know in Florida, the highest we can make our engineering courses are honors. But I also know in other places they can make them AP, so it kind of depends on your state. That's a state requirement thing. Faculty and staff awareness. So what we do every year during one of our teacher learning days is we actually will talk to our staff about what we do in our classes. We have new teachers every year, just so they are aware of what we're doing. So if they run into a kid that's really gifted in any of these areas in engineering, and the kid's not in engineering, and they can just say, well, hey, Coach Greer has a class where you guys do this all year, so you want to go talk to him and learn about what they do, and maybe you get into it. We've got a couple kids like that every year. We just don't know that they're there, and or they may not know that we're there. So then that allows more people to help us get kids into our academy. When I talk about sharing students, what that means is you want to make sure that the students are doing what they want to do. I don't pressure them to take any classes. They want to take them, they can. But if I have a kid that wants to go take pictures or do video or want to do engineering, they can do that. But a lot of times we'll have kids that'll do both. And then marketing. So you see here on the right side of the slide here, I made a flyer for our courses a couple of years ago. I'm asked to go speak at middle schools, at parent nights, for open house, and we do a lot in our classes. So when I just go talk to them about it, everything sounds great, but they forget when they walk out of the door. So what I did was I made this flyer. I think I did it on Publisher, Word, and just gave a couple bullet points for each course, just so the parents, the students, the people in the community would know what we do in our classes without me having to give them entire paragraphs of stuff. But at least, whatever they caught from the presentation, they can circle it, highlight it, and remember it. They want to tell one of their students or friends or family members about some of the things that we do here. But this is really good, free. I made it at school and I print them out every time I go speak somewhere, just so they have an idea of what we do. It's on paper. It's only on one page. I have it printed out in color so that they can then understand what we do in our courses, and then they have something to remember us by. Any other videos you can do, if you have a video department, I know most schools do now, our announcements are on video. So what they do every year is they actually come in our classes and they'll interview the teachers, they'll interview the students, and then they will actually, they'll make a video for each of these courses. So when our students get to choose their courses for the next following year, they actually can go to our school website and they can click a link and they can watch videos that kind of give them an introduction into what we do in these courses. So, kind of a cool thing, a cool little add-on. If you guys have that capability at your school, if you have kids that do videos, if you have a videography class, I know for ours, it's an Adobe class. They learn how to edit videos and splice and all that kind of stuff. That could definitely be something you can use to your advantage. I'm a really big proponent of using, the things your school has to offer for you. That's something I don't have to pay for because our students do it. It gives them experience and it helps us out at the same time. Promotion and recruitment. As I said before, you want to make sure that people are aware of, first of all, your academy, and then what your academy does. So marketing is something that you'll see me talk about a lot here, and faculty staff awareness again, because this is how you promote your program. This is how people know and get to learn what you guys are doing. So if you look over here, a couple of these pictures, your students are going to be your best recruitment tools. This is Zoe. Zoe's getting ready to go to UCF in the fall. And Zoe was one of our interns. She went through all 4 years of our engineering and IT academy, which was rare for what we have at our school. So she can actually promote both, and she actually did that. So here you see her speaking to the Chamber of Commerce. So we have a great partnership with our Naples Chamber of Commerce. They help us out a lot. And they have a board of business owners that will go and travel around each month to different schools. So this is when they came to visit our school. And this is a picture of Zoe talking to them about her experiences in our academy and her internship experience. And like I said before, this is a great tool for you and for them. Zoe actually had a job offer from doing this presentation. There was a guy from the Ritz-Carlton just sitting in the audience that learned that she can do videos, and he saw some of her work and he offered her a job almost on the spot. So those things will happen all the time here. Apparel, banners, and posters. You can't really see it from Zoe. She's off to the side here, but my kids get t-shirts every year. Sometimes they get a couple t-shirts. We have one of our board members that sponsors those shirts. Kids love free stuff. Our kids earn it through, the work they do in the community, the things they do in the classroom, and I always want to make sure that I can hook them up with something cool if I can. And the shirts are one of the things we do. You'll see here in the next couple of slides, we have banners and posters all over our classrooms and all over campus that promote our academy for awareness for our students. Social media, I post things all the time on social media when we go on cool field trips. When we have guest speakers, you'll see some of those pictures here, just so everybody can know what we have going on. We have Academy showcase events. So during the year, we'll have open houses where kids can show their projects off. We'll have almost like a club rush day where our kids will sit at the table during lunchtime with some example projects and things sitting on the table so that other people on campus can be aware of what they want to do if they want to sign up for the classes or for our engineering club. We have our academy nights where parents and people from the community can come in and learn about more things that we do with our academy and whether or not they want to have their kids sign up for it. We have open houses. And on the right here, you see an academic pep rally. So what an academic pep rally is once a year, probably around October, beginning of November. We're a big sports school, so we have a lot of pep rallies, but we actually have an academic pep rally where all of our clubs and some of our academies can showcase some of the cool things that we do. So, for example, our physics club, the teacher will go and they'll hit a brick on while he's laying on the bed of nails. For us, we'll have our robot out here. We've had our solar car out there in the past, just to kind of build awareness on our campus of our programs and things that we do. And then college signing day, which you'll see a video of here in a few minutes, where we actually celebrate our students. So like I said before, we're a big sports school. I am a football coach. So what we do, for football is every spring or every winter, our kids will have a signing day ceremony. They'll put their hat on, they get to take pictures with their family, they get recognized in front of the school. So we do the same thing for our engineering students in the spring. And what we do is, I believe the last week of school for our seniors, we will have a barbecue for them. We'll invite our board members, we'll invite their parents and some of their friends, and they'll get a hat and a t-shirt that I will get for them. And they get to sit, put their hat and t-shirt on, take pictures, and have lunch with their friends, pretty much for the last time in our engineering building. It's a great event. And a lot of these things that you see here are made in part by our advisory board, which is a really big part of what we do with the involvement of our community. More promotion and recruitment, school events. Open house has really been my biggest event as far as recruiting people for our advisory board, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. What I do is I just have everybody sign in. And what I would say is, hey, if you're interested in helping us out a little bit more for our advisory board, there's no money required. I won't ask you for money, but if you want to come help us out, whether you want to come and be a guest speaker, whether you want to host us for a site visit one day, whether you want to be a mock interviewer, whether you just want to kind of have an idea or kind of be in the loop of what's going on with our students. If you do want to help us out, and buy things for us, you can, but you don't have to. All I ask them to do is just put a star by the name on a sign-in sheet in open house. I get about 10 people a year that I get to add to my board just by doing open house, whether it's them, whether it's their husband or wife, whether it's a brother or sister, a neighbor, a friend, or just them themselves that'll help us out. So some are business owners. Others are just parents that want to help, whether they want to come be a chaperone for a field trip. Those things are all helpful for what we have. Community events. Okay, so we have STEAM nights. So what happens is our grade schools and middle schools will have STEAM nights during the school year. And what they do is they actually ask our kids to come over. We have an engineering club also as an extension of our academy, and they'll bring their projects over. So we bring our solar car over. We'll bring the little racing helmet. You guys will see that here in a few minutes. We'll bring, a robot, and they can actually, the kids can actually come check it out. They can kind of figure out what's going on, what the older kids are doing. That's a really cool event for us, and our kids will get volunteer hours for those events, which is a really big deal for them. I use the local media a lot. I tweet a lot. I'll tag them in the tweets when we have something really big going on. Our district actually has their own media team, which will invite the media out for certain events that you guys see here. I'll talk about that more in a few minutes. Personal contacts with them. I get their contacts when they come out and talk to me, whether it's a social media tag, a phone number, or email, and I'll always include them if we ever have any cool things going on. And then sometimes it's just an email or a phone call to people, say, hey, this is what we have going on. If you're interested, you can come check us out, or hey, can you come help us out with this event? All right, so for my advisory board, as of right now, we got about 35 members on the board that are active from 15 different companies. We also just have 4 parents. I think 2 of them are architects and engineers. The other 2 are just parents that want to just kind of be around. They come and chaperone for us sometimes, but they kind of want to be in the loop of what their kids are doing. There's another parent where his kid doesn't even go to Naples High School anymore, but he still wants to know what's going on, and he still helps us out every year with a couple different events. We also have 2 university partners from Florida Gulf Coast University from their College of Engineering that help our kids out every year. And they also both act as mock interviewers when we get to that time to get our juniors ready for internships. All right, so maintenance. Okay, so when I talk about maintenance, now you get to the point where you have your academy built, you have all your classes established, but now you want to make sure you keep your kids around. Engineering isn't easy. That's one thing that I always tell people. When you have your students taking these courses, you want to make sure that you can make it as fun as possible for them. Okay, so over here, as an example, you see a couple of the engineering t-shirts that we've given them over the last few years. The kids get to design them on their own. So you can see I didn't draw this picture. We have a really gifted student that can draw pretty much anything that you ask her to. This was her shirt design where she put my face with a bridge over my head. And I actually let them vote on different ideas for the t-shirts. Here's another one that was drawn a couple years ago. You know, half it's the brain, half it's, you know, some gears and belts and motors and things like that. But, you know, we make it fun for them. You know, the kids really love making their own shirts. They love wearing their shirts around campus. You know, a lot of these kids aren't on any other teams or athletic groups or clubs. So, you know, with them getting this apparel, they're proud to wear this because this is their team that they're on, you know. And this is one of the biggest things that keep the students around because, you know, it's a smaller group with the family, and those groups and those relationships are built, you know, their freshman year, and they get to work on those all the way up. We'll talk about quality and not quantity. You don't want to have too many students to the point where you have a bunch of them that don't really want to be there. You know, I want to make sure the kids are enjoying the classes. I don't make them take more than what they want to take. I just make sure they understand what's available to them. You want to also make sure that you don't offer too many courses at once. You know, I've seen other schools where they have so many classes, but all those classes are offered to the same groups of kids. So instead of having a class of 20 or 30, you have a class of 5 or 10, and then you can't offer the class anymore because it's not big enough. So you want to be careful on taking on too many courses at once. And you also don't want to cannibalize other programs or academies. All right, so for growth, Academy Enrichment, we have an engineering club that kind of acts as an extension of our academy. We do different volunteer events. We do solar car races, which is what you guys see up here. This is a solar car race that we do at FGCU every year. For our club, you don't have to be in our academy to be a part of the engineering club. And that's a really cool part because we've had kids that come be in the club for a year or two, and then they go and take the classes. So these may have been students that were afraid to take it in the beginning. They might have thought it would have been too hard. You know, they might want to try doing something else first, but through the club, they see some of the cool projects that we do. And then they say, well, hey, am I able to still take the class? And they can. They're welcome to do that. We do different community service things. We partner with local grade schools. This is when we went to go hang out with a STEM club. I believe they were in 3rd or 4th grade over at one of our local elementary schools. So we did a little engineering activity with them where our students actually ran it. I was kind of there just take pictures and make sure everything was going okay. So we do these every year. Then there's some more pictures from our solar car race. So our club does other events also. Our district actually hosts a STEAM conference every year where different courses and different students will have booths. So like a science fair, but not necessarily because it's not really a competition. This just really gives exposure to the community about what us and our students do. So you can see here, I have student volunteers. Normally we try to do something on CAD every year. So I believe this year we did it in Revit where they actually went through and they let people make little buildings in a little shed. And they got to add windows and add doors, look at blueprints. And the thing I love about this is the students will actually run it. I have a computer running a slideshow with pictures of things that we do in our academy. And I'm kind of standing out front, talking to parents, talking to different members of the community. The kids will come up and actually work on these. And my students will actually kind of walk them through that, which is a really cool process to see. And they get volunteer hours for this also. So they get to kind of demonstrate what they've learned, and then it's showing the next generation of students how to use some of this software. All right, so other enrichment activities that we do. We kind of started this, like I talked about before, a couple of years ago. You know, being a football coach, we have kids at assignment colleges every year. So I wanted to do something similar to that for our engineering kids. I started to have a lot more kids actually go to school for engineering. I kind of felt bad for them because it was kind of a high five and a handshake and good luck. So this kind of was the next step of this. I was able to do this through my advisory board without having to actually use any school money for this, which was great. You can see the kids get a hat and a T-shirt. We get them, we have a barbecue for them. It's normally the last week of school for seniors. For example, we had a kid go to West Point, kid go to Annapolis, Texas A&M, a couple of FGCU kids, Florida State, Akron, WPI. We have those kids go to those schools every year, and they get celebrated for it now, which is really, really cool. I've got great feedback from this event. So what you guys can actually do right now is check out a video of this, and then we'll kind of keep going from there.
Has a storied history of achievement. Now students are building a new legacy to meet local and global challenges.
Going back to my hometown of Akron, Ohio, Shelby Weinberg is going to Akron for engineering.
Cliff Greer is the school's lead engineering teacher and the director of the Academy of Engineering.
One of the things I love about it is you can do so much with it. I mean, I'm an engineer, but I'm a teacher. You can work for firms, you can go out on your own, you can work for different companies. Pretty much any company anywhere in the world has engineers working for them in some way, shape, or form.
He's like a proud dad announcing where his students are going off to college to continue studying engineering.
Florida Poly, United States Naval Academy, West Point.
Accolades line the walls of Mr. Greer's classroom, defining moments as a Golden Eagles football coach, and recognition for being an exceptional teacher. Now, Naples High School is once again a Project Lead the Way distinguished school, one of only 5 Florida schools to earn the honor back-to-back in the last 2 years.
What that means is we have to have a certain threshold of students in our academy, and also that same threshold that takes other classes after the first year. And also, as far as our end-of-course exams, we have to have 70% of them earn it proficient or higher.
The CEO of PLTW offered this congratulations.
The work you do to truly empower students is some of the most important in our society. Recognition as a PLTW distinguished school signals your commitment to increasing access and achievement in Project Lead the Way programs.
Programs put in place at Naples High School around the year 2000 by longtime teacher Bob Bentley.
We have an Academy of Architecture and a segment in Academy of Engineering. Our engineering program is part of Project Lead the Way, which is a national foundation that develops rigorous curriculum through the colleges and high schools around the nation.
Mr. Bentley retired 4 years ago after 38 years with CCPS. He's proud of the work of Mr. Greer and the next generation of engineers.
FSU,
Florida State,
University of Akron.
Today, the District School Board of Collier County recognizes Naples High School as a Project Lead the Way distinguished school.
We're the only one in the country that has that status from both NAF and PLTW. You know, it's always great to go to that building for good things, and I'm really happy that they realize the good things our academy is doing. I'm really happy for our kids. Without them, none of this is possible. All right, one thing you're going to make sure you always do, is document what you're doing. Social media for me is great for this. I always have my phone in my pocket. I'm always taking pictures and taking videos. Here's an example from our STEAM night where we just had our solo car out of the STEAM night. The little kids got to sit in it, but they got to act like they're driving it, put the helmet on, take pictures. They got to talk to their parents about some of the things the high school kids do at the high school as part of the career academy. And this one on the right, there's some days where I'm in class and I'm just kind of looking and everybody's doing something, like every single kid. So what I try to do when that happens is I'll take pictures of it and post it because, that's a really cool thing so people can actually see what we're doing in our classes, what our students are doing. This was a day in civil engineering where they were all building models and everybody was engaged. Everybody was working. So I just wanted to give people an example of what our kids actually do in our classes. It's good to post that kind of stuff too. As I talked about before, our TV production class are the ones that put together the videos for our courses. And if I ever need anything extra, I can always ask that teacher to say, hey, can you send the kid over to video this or video that? Just so I have a record of some of the cool things that we do. We always have people every year that come in and ask about what we do. I normally have a little video that I show my advisory board a couple times a year of different projects our students are doing, just so they can actually see it and have an idea of what's going on. Parent nights. Okay, so parent nights are another great tool. We try and have about 2 a year where we'll have myself and then I have a couple students come speak. Like I said before, the students speaking is the strongest thing. The last year we had 2 of our interns come speak about their experiences, and that is the most powerful thing you can do because you have parents watching a high school student speak about their work-based learning experiences as if they're already an adult. And that's probably one of the most impressive things that you can do and one of the best things you can give to a audience is have a student come speak to them. All right, so a couple more examples here, documentation and promotion. With everything going on this year, we did not get to have our senior signing day, but what we do have is a great Photoshop teacher. As much as I would love to take credit for these pictures and these photos and graphics, our Photoshop teacher does graphics for us. So what I want to do, since we couldn't have a signing day, is I wanted her to, take the kids' senior pictures and then put their school background on there with our school logo, just to kind of celebrate them. And what I did was I tweeted this out their last day of school, just so they still, they were still able to be recognized, even though we couldn't all be together. They still had these graphics, what school they're going to for them as a celebration, then for us, for people to see the great students that we're putting out of our academy. So, you got Brown, you got Princeton, let's see, Virginia, Baylor, Carnegie Mellon, you got UCF, UAH, USF, and UF for Florida. And all these kids are going to be going to studies an engineering related field at the next level. And it's something that we do to celebrate them, just like I would do for football when I post pictures and videos of those guys. All right, so I got some work-based learning examples that I'll show you now. I think we all are aware of what work-based learning activities are, but in case you don't know, guest speakers, the site visits, the job shadows, the mock interviews, internships. I have examples of those here. All right, so this first one you see, I always tell my students, hey, if you ever go do this in real life, please come back and talk to your classes. And this is one of those examples. This is Katie and Samantha Sanderson, it's interesting. They both went to our school, but they had very different paths into getting into engineering. I had both of them as students in engineering. On the left is Sam. Sam was going to be an engineer no matter what, whether I was her teacher or not. She was going to be an engineer. She had the brain for it. She did all the classes. She was all ready to go. She already knew that was going to be her major when she went to college. Her sister Katie, on the other hand, was really good in math, really good in science, really good in art and sketching, but didn't really want to mess with engineering, which is pretty funny. They both ended up being engineers working for the same company, just taking a different path. So they both are now mechanical engineers. And what they were doing was they were actually back home to visit mom for spring break. And they actually said, hey, can we come talk to your class? And I was like, great, sure. And what they actually do is they design mechanical and electrical systems for custom houses out west. This presentation was great for my civil engineering and architecture students because they got to see what they do is something that somebody else does in real life for an actual job and career. They use Revit just like we use in our classes. And they had plenty of examples to show them, like you see Katie right now, right here, showing them one of the diagrams she made for a set of construction documents. So this is a great event, and this is all just from them being in town, me having them in class, them being aware of what we do with our students in our academy, and then wanting to come back and give back and discuss their experiences. And this was great. They both just finished college, so they had tons of advice of, what classes affect you, some things to think about once you get ready to go to college, how it is once you get out of college and get your first job, how do you get your first job, kind of things they had to do, some things they had to deal with, being women in engineering. So we got to cover a lot of different topics while they were here speaking. So what I do for my guest speakers is I actually have the permission from my administration to make this like a field trip. So any of my engineering students I know what might be interested in this, I will tell them about it and I will advertise this to them. And then what I'm able to do is get them excused for whatever class period that my guest speakers get to come and talk. So that's really been great for my students to get exposure to whatever guest speaker I have. And it allows me to limit the guest speaker's time so they don't have to worry about being there all day and seeing multiple periods. They'll come once, and then whoever wants to come, I allow them to come during that period to hear that guest speaker. For the next slide, you're going to see a video about, and then I'm going to discuss kind of what he did afterwards.
From your Collier County News team, it is not a bird, not a plane, that is a flying man.
Sure is. The inventor showed off the first ever gravity jet suit at this year's Imagine Solutions Conference at Naples High School. NBC2's Jennifer Vegla shows you how he is inspiring our young engineers.
We all grew up watching it on TV. Some of us even had dreams doing it. Soaring high 12,000 feet above the air, no airplane, no helicopter, a jet suit. Well, you can pinch yourself because that dream has become a reality. The flying man himself paying a visit to Naples High School on Tuesday to soar high with the Golden Eagles.
The sensation when you're flying, it is hard to describe. It is just pure euphoria.
For Richard Browning, the sky was never the limit. And certainly a corporate job in London wasn't either. Using 3D printing, creating a real-life Iron Man suit, using just 5 engines to soar up to 50 miles per hour.
Now growing up into doing client training, we've got the big race in Bermuda on 21st of March, and we're doing a lot of military collaboration as well.
Making its debut in Southwest Florida, soaring above a crowd outside the Ritz-Carlton in Naples at this year's Imagine Solutions Conference. This morning, sharing his journey with aspiring engineers at Naples High.
They kind of showed me that as long as you have an idea and you kind of had like the set path, then you can truly do whatever you put your mind to.
Lead engineering teacher Cliff Greer says inviting guest speakers like Browning are an essential learning tool.
It kind of updates their index and then updates my index of things that are going on and, how you get funding, how you present, to how you present to people to get to share your ideas.
I can't wait until I'm out there in the world and trying things like this just to make the world a better place and try new things.
Unfortunately, Browning wasn't able to demonstrate the suit for students today. The suits are actually being used at racing events for entertainment purposes. In Naples, Jennifer Veglas, NBC2.
All right. So, this was really interesting for this guy. He just happened to be in town, and he wanted to speak to some students while he was in town after he did his demo for his flight suit. So what he did was he actually called our school district. Our school district said, well, hey, if you want to talk to engineering students, then you have to go to Naples High School. So really that was a part of, our district being aware of how well our program is doing and how interested our students would be in something like this. And then me just tagging them in things all the time. They always see what's going on in our classroom. So when an opportunity like this came up, they were able to say, hey, if you want to talk to engineering kids, go to Naples High School. So this is like the other ones where it's a guest speaker. We knew he was coming a couple days beforehand. I advertised it to my students. So I believe this was during my second period class. So all my second period kids were there. Then I said, hey, for any other engineering class, I went through and I advertised it to them also. If you guys want to come, it'd be like a field trip. You'll be excused from class, and they get to come and show up and hear a pretty cool guest speaker and, get to hear his experiences. This is a really, really great event that happened just from our school district, just recommending that he come and see our students, which was great. You get a couple other examples here. So this fellow over here, Jim Henderson, what he did was he's designing sustainable housing in our area. So what he did was he basically took something that would be the equivalent of a storage container, and he's trying to kind of revolutionize the way that houses are constructed and built to make them way more energy efficient. Okay, so he really had just got started, and he actually wanted to talk to some students. So through our relationship with our Chamber of Commerce, I was looking for somebody to talk about LEED and environmentally sustainable building. They actually hooked us up, and then he got to come and speak. And I'll show you on the next slide. He actually got to we actually got to go see one of his houses that he built. Up here is Mike Mick. He's the project manager for D'Angelo's Diamond Construction. He's one of our board members. And he actually got to hook us up with a site visit I'll talk to you about here in a couple slides. And then Kelly Blake, who's from Stantec Engineering. One of our board members is in Stantec. He's also one of our parents. I asked him, okay, hey, we're doing water treatment over the next few weeks. You have anybody that's good with water treatment? Well, he sent his lead engineer for water treatment to come and speak to our students. And she actually came in with an entire little project they can do where they, she had a new housing development put on the map, and we had to figure out how to get water to that new housing development. So that was a really cool activity also. So here is when we got to actually go see Jim's building. So you can see here on the outside, looks just like a regular house, but really what this ends up being is, the rectangular shape of a storage container. The walls are insulation, so there's not really many openings. Everything is kind of prefab and pre-constructed. So I believe this whole house took about, after the foundation was laid, maybe 2.5 weeks to build versus a couple months for a regular house. I believe everything's powered by solar. You don't have to actually get any electricity from the grid. And this is actually selling power back to the grid. So you can kind of take a look at the pictures here. That was a really cool project for our students to come check out. So here, this is another example of our students being able to go have a site visit. So this is actually my neighborhood. All right, the guy right here is the guy that sold me my house. This is Phil. Phil's one of our board members. So I'm driving home one day and I say, well, hey, why can't I take my kids out here? So let me call Phil. So I called Phil and said, hey, can I bring about 25 kids out to come check out your job sites? Because at this point, you had houses that were built, houses that were just getting built, like you see here on the left side, and then houses that are about halfway done. So they allowed us to come out with our students for a day. And we got to start by looking at houses that were just in the foundation stage. They're just breaking ground on. And then we got to go walk around and see houses getting built, during that whole process. Then we got to go see the finished product of one of the model homes. And at this point, our students were actually working on designing their own houses. This really, really worked really well with what we were doing in our curriculum at the time. So in this picture, Arthrex is one of the largest medical device manufacturer in the world, and they're actually headquartered in Naples, Florida. So Mike Mick, who I showed you a couple slides ago, the project manager from D'Angelo's Diamond Construction, he actually was able to get us a visit onto their site. So Arthrex would fly people to Naples all the time for training on whatever products they're doing. And what happened was they got tired of putting up in hotels. So they built their new corporate headquarters, a new parking deck, and they actually built a hotel where they can host doctors when they bring them in town to train them on things. That's really what this job site is. It was 3 buildings in one. Really, this is a really great trip for our kids to go on. You can see here on the left, they're doing a site tour. And then over here on the right, this is another one of my favorite parts. We actually got to go into their job site trailer. And, they actually took us through what they do on a day-to-day basis. And one of the coolest things was one of their other project managers actually had an iPad that he brought out, and it was their entire building on Revit. Well, we use the Revit software in our classes. So the kids got to see an actual building, in their actual city where they live in a Revit model. And then he showed us how they use Revit every day to track the construction, track what's being built, to kind of track any issues. This is a really, really great trip. And this is a really great example of them using software our kids are learning about right now in the class. So this is them still on that same site. This site visit covered maybe about 4 or 5 assignments and projects that we do in our civil engineering and architecture class. They got to see some deep foundations. They got to see some dewatering. They got to see a parking deck and get to kind of understand that entire process of the parking deck being built and how that works. Once again, great trip for them to go on. One of the negative perceptions of Naples is, it's a bunch of old people, and people that are retired, and really it's not. We have a growing manufacturing hub in Naples. When you look at Arthrex and you look at these two companies also. So on the left, we have a company called Azimuth Technology. It's actually founded by an alumni of our school. So this goes back to our advisory board. He actually came and seeked me out once I took over our academy to say, hey, whatever you need, I'm here to help you, because I had those same classes your kids are taking. So he actually runs a facility about 10 minutes from our school that we go visit every year. He has about 3 of these large plants. And he actually lets our students come and kind of roam around the floor. So he'll come and talk to them. They'll meet a couple engineers and a couple workers that run the plant. And then our kids get to take maybe a half hour to 45 minutes and walk around, look at the machines, check them out to see how they work. And these kids actually are all learning how to use these same machines right now in the classroom. This is another great trip. Another company that we have headquartered in Naples is called Pelican Wire. And they make all the radiant floor and radiant wiring for pretty much anything in the country, whether it be from a floor in a house to the wiring that goes on the blades of a helicopter to keep you from freezing. That's all located and made in Naples. So we got to go to their plant. I didn't get to take a lot of pictures because everything was kind of top secret, but it's one of the ones I got to take where our kids got to go tour it, check it out, and see some of the things that they make. Probably one of the coolest trips we had a chance to go on would be we got to go to the Kennedy Space Center this past winter, which was great. And this was all made possible by one of our parents. He's actually on the board for Space Florida. So how this happened was pretty funny is one of our students just said, hey, coach, I got my dad. He's on the board for some space thing. And he said we can go to the Space Center. He can help us out. So as I went and did some digging and actually talked to her dad, Space Florida is kind of the board that governs everything that goes on up at the Kennedy Space Center, which includes the new SpaceX stuff, the NASA stuff. He's one of the people that's on that board that kind of decide what goes on up there. So he was able to secure us a bus along with the help of some of our other board members where all of our students got to go for free. They didn't have to pay anything. They didn't have to pay for food. Didn't have to pay for admission. And they all got to go someplace where most of them probably would not have a chance to go if it wasn't for our board providing them with this opportunity for the trip. This is great. And really, it's even better now because with them launching the new rocket, all of our students got to go tour that platform and kind of see some of the innovations that our space program has, the innovations that occurred in our space program over the last few years, which was great. So you get to see some more of those pictures of our students here. All right. Other examples of work-based learning, mock interviews. This is probably one of the most useful things that we do with our students. So the way that we do our mock interviews, I secure a bunch of conference rooms on campus. We normally do it over 2 days. And what we do is we take our juniors that are getting ready to do internships over the coming summer. We put them through the mock interview process. So I do, 2 groups. We normally do it maybe on a Wednesday or Thursday in the afternoon during school at about an hour and a half, a 2-hour block. The first group will do it on Wednesday, and the other group will do it on Thursday, for example. I'll ask my board members to come out, and the reason I do it that way is so I'm not taking their entire day. But I'll ask them to come for a few hours and say, hey, can you come be an interviewer? Most of them will have their own questions. They put them through their actual interview process that they would do when they're interviewing someone to work for their company. So you can see here, which is pretty interesting in this picture, on the far left, Andrew actually ended up getting hired by Lynn. Lynn's one of our advisory board members from Azimuth Technology. He actually takes this very, very seriously, which is good. It's a good experience for our students, for our board members to take this part seriously because he's interviewing interns. He actually wants to hire our kids every year, but he won't hire just anyone. So he puts them through I wouldn't say difficult, but it's a pretty intense interview process. He looks at their social media profiles. He looks at their resumes. He really gives them great feedback. And Andrew has been one of our best students that we've had. He hired him, he did a great job as an internship in the over the summer. Another board member, David Poorman, he was actually an engineering parent the first year. I had his daughter in class, and at first he just came to kind of help out, and he saw some of the great things we're doing with our students. And he's been one of our mock interviewers for the last few years. He actually hired a couple of kids from mock interviews also. And then Bruce Young, who's a good friend of mine, is a member of our advisory board for Current Young Construction. He does a great job as an interviewer also. Like I said, they kind of come with their own questions. They ask the kids. The kids will dress for an actual interview. They'll have their resume. We'll work on resumes with them a couple times before they do their mock interviews to make sure that they're ready to be posted on our school website and ready to be used for mock interviews. When I say our school website, our district actually has an entire internship program where they will actually assist students in getting internships also. There's an internship portal, a website where they can post their resumes and apply for jobs. So I give them mock interviews on top of what our district gives them to get them ready for internships. But it's really been a great experience and a great process for them. Like I said, this is a 2-day thing. Each board member will have their own conference room. The kids will kind of have a rotation on. I try and give them at least 3 interviews during that day, where they can go and practice and meet different people. It's funny, each person has a different interview style. So the kids get to practice with the actual interviews, with the actual people in a room on their own with a board member, where they can get real life experience on an interview, how to answer questions about your resume and how to really brag about yourself. It's probably the hardest thing I've had my students do is being able to brag about themselves and be able to highlight some of the really great things they do. So you get some examples of feedback for interviews. I'll let you guys read this for a minute or so. My board members take this very seriously. Okay, as you can see over here, Aaron, who's a kid at now the Naval Academy, this is his 3rd year. Got really, really great remarks, and I try and tell them that, hey, this is a serious deal. This is something that's going to be fake here. So you can see over here, Billy didn't really take this very seriously, and he got that in his feedback. I think it's really helped Billy because this made him change a lot and kind of work on himself to really make sure that he's ready for his actual first job interviews. All right, so here's Zoe. Zoe's one of the girls I talked about before. This is a picture of Zoe on her job shadow. So Coastal Engineering, who's one of our most active board members and board companies, when we have students that are really interested in some of the things they do as far as coastal engineering and environmental engineering, I will suggest they go on a job shadow with Coastal. It's kind of the first step in the process of them maybe getting an internship with them over the summer. So Zoe got to go measure depths of canals. She got to go watch dredge machines work for a day. And just like the mock interviews and guest speakers go, the one thing I love about our school and our district is they make these excused absences. So if I have a kid that wants to do a job shadow, they can go during the school day and do a job shadow instead of being in school that day, just kind of get that experience. So a couple of examples, this was Andrew, the young man that was getting interviewed in the mock interview a couple slides ago. This is him actually working for that company. And then Lydia, who actually got to work for WDG Architecture in Naples. Lydia is another example of us and our great partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. She was not actually able to do all the mock interviews. She had sports at the time. So she did get the interview with a lady from the Chamber of Commerce, and she was so impressive that Lydia actually got an internship because she knew the chamber, the lady chamber knew her from her interview and said that she'd be great for the internship that these guys are offering. So they didn't even have to interview Lydia. Somebody already interviewed her, and they actually recommended her for the job, and she got it. So she's now going to go to the University of Virginia for architecture in the fall. And that a lot of that was based on her experiences with her architecture internship that she got based on our partnership with the Naples Chamber of Commerce. All right, that's all I have. So you get a couple other pictures of our seniors. Like I said, we couldn't do our senior signing day. What we did do is we still made sure they got hats and T-shirts because they earned them. Even though we couldn't all celebrate together, they still got a little gift from the college, from the Engineering Academy on their way out.
Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us for Mr. Greer's session. Unfortunately, Cliff was not able to join us this morning for Q&A, but we did want to continue to offer a Q&A time this morning. And we can promise you this, we'll do all that we can to have Cliff lead another session in Phoenix at NAF Next 2021, because we all have seen how effective and powerful a leader he is. So instead of Cliff today, Kate Hayden, Managing Director of Academy Development at NAF, is joining us to take some of your questions, especially those questions related to establishing and maintaining an effective NAF Academy. And while I'm sure you're tired of seeing my face throughout the conference, I'll be joining you as well. My name is Josh Benfield. I'm the Assistant Director for Technology Experience and Training. So let's jump into a few questions that you shared during the session today. I will say there were a few questions about how we can get a T-shirt with that drawing of Mr. Greer wearing the crown. We'll check in with him to see if he's making those available for all of us yet, and we'll be sure to get back with you. But you'll see, you can see that one of the things that makes Mr. Greer such an incredible leader is the time and effort he puts into highlighting his students. And now there were a few questions that you asked today that we will not be able to answer because Mr. Greer is not with us. But we will share those questions with you and be sure to give an opportunity for him to answer those and connect with you after the conference. But let's talk first about one of the questions that we can answer. Mr. Greer shared a lot of examples of work-based learning activities, guest speakers, going to job sites, all of those kind of things. So Kate, what are some of the suggestions you have for how teachers and academy leaders can find and curate the best work-based learning opportunities for students?
So I think my best advice here is to start with the work-based learning continuum that NAF offers. The activities that we suggest in career awareness, such as you mentioned before, guest speakers, career fairs, site visits, and then those career exploration activities such as informational interviews and mock interviews, as you saw in Cliff's presentation, and then culminating with those internships. Knowing what that continuum is of work-based learning, having that as, and we've got resources to help you have this conversation, take that to your advisory board and have a conversation with your business partners, because they're the ones who know if they can't provide those types of experiences for you, they probably know somebody else who could, and they can help line up some of those activities, those authentic, real world, practical experiences that Cliff talks about. I would go to business partners through your advisory board. That's why it's so important for us to have advisory boards that are impactful and given the opportunity to really make a difference for our young people.
Thanks, Kate. I think such a great answer, and it is so helpful to consider all of those opportunities. One of the other questions that was asked was, what's the Greer factor? What one practice of yours, of Mr. Greer's, do you believe could add a quality to every academy? Now, I can't answer that because I'm not Mr. Greer, but from the outside looking in, and having worked with Collier County, where Mr. Greer is based, from the outside looking in, I think Cliff spoke to this a little bit, and I've seen this happen, where he said that it's important for students to, and he said this today, to update their index. I think that's a really great way of saying it, but he is constantly putting students in front of unique opportunities, diverse leaders, and encouraging them to explore the world of opportunity that's available. You know, yesterday, one of our keynote speakers, Jamie Cassip, said something. He said, stop asking your students, what do you want to be when you grow up? And start asking them, what problems do you want to solve? And then help them build capacity to solve those problems. I think Cliff is doing exactly what Jamie said. He's helping students see the problems that can be solved and the opportunities that are available. And not only that, he helps students see that they can solve these problems. You know, Nicole Lichko, who oversees all of the academies at Collier County, where Cliff is based, said this about Cliff. She said how Cliff and his students find internships is he works with his advisory board, which is the district advisory board. Works with his advisory board as well as the district advisory board and a Chamber of Commerce, a contact at the Chamber of Commerce to help students locate and apply for internships. He also hosts mock interviews each year, which he has internship providers participate in as well, so that they get to pre-interview candidates. And sometimes students are even offered internships right on the spot there during the mock interviews. Ultimately, and I think this is what makes Cliff so special and his leadership so important. Ultimately, Cliff really promotes his academy. He always has a business card on him and always is making new contacts. That's just such a great lesson for all academy leaders. Kate, one question I'd love for you to speak to, if as you've interacted with advisory boards in different districts across the country, how do you balance having an advisory board that's at a school versus having an advisory board for the district, or maybe two engineering programs like with Mr. Greer, maybe competing for the same leadership in a district? How do you encourage districts or schools to not have a competition but to work together?
Well, at the end of the day, it's about talent that our students are providing for our business partners, and they they don't really have as much concern about school boundaries as we do in education. And so having a district level industry sector board is a value because it provides equity for all students. It shouldn't matter to a student where they live, whether or not they're going to have a beneficial work-based learning experience. So having a district level industry sector board is really a great way to close that gap and make sure that all students have the opportunity. We also recommend, and it just depends on it depends on different districts, how they want to manage that. But in some places, they have a local board. And when you have a local board, those business partners are really engaged in the school. They're in the building and doing really important mentoring and hands-on experiences with those students. So it depends on really what the local community needs are, but there is a place for a district board, there's a place for a local board. It's just up to the local leadership to decide what is the best avenue for their students and for their community.
Great. That's so true. Such a great example from the experience you have. One last question. I think we're about out of time, but the question that came in is, do students have a chance to choose an academy as a freshman? Once a student is enrolled in the academy, what does the process look like if they want to switch to a different academy? Now, I know you may not have a direct answer on how Cliff handles that at his school, right. But as we've, as you advise schools across the country, what do you suggest as far as giving student, if a school has multiple academies, what do you suggest for, choosing an academy as a freshman, or maybe switching if they would like to switch, if students would like to switch to a different academy?
Well, there's a couple of things that I want to stress. First of all, research that we've done shows that when a student joins an academy in the 9th grade and they continue through the academy experience, they do better. They have better outcomes. And so we always stress that if we can get them in the 9th grade and keep them in an academy, that's a value. But also important to understand is the academy experience is because the student chooses to be in it. That it's interest-based and that the students aren't just dumped into an academy program. They really want to be there. And so if I have a student that joins a health sciences academy as a freshman, but then they really start to get a feel for maybe the teacher prep academy that's in the same building, they want to be a teacher. Who am I to say that they can't switch the academy because that's their calling, because that's where they feel like they would fit best? And so having a dynamic, open communication with other academies in the building where there's not a feeling for competition, but really about the student at the end of the day. What's it going to be for them? What's a value for them? What do they need? And us adults get out of the way so that the students can get what they need. I think that's the really important thing. And Cliff said it in his video earlier. He said, be open to all ideas. And so listening to our students, having them the focus, the center of our work really does speak volumes for why he's had as much success as he's had.
Well, thanks, Kate, for our time today. And be sure to reach out to Cliff. I know he's on social media, and we will share these questions with him that he was unable to answer today, but he'll be able to answer these and reach out to those who attended. Thank you all for joining us for the beginning of day 2. We hope you'll hang around for blocks C and D of our learning sessions today and the other incredible opportunities that will be available throughout the rest of NAF Next Day 2 during our virtual conference. So thanks again for joining us. We look forward to all that we're going to have over the next few hours. Be sure to fill out the session evaluation for this session. Thanks again. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for joining us today. Before you leave, a few quick things. The session evaluation and code are available right now on this platform. Please take a minute to give us your important feedback. It assists us in future conferences, and it will also help you in getting CEUs. Speaking of CEUs, if you're interested in getting those, for the sessions that you attended, that information will be provided to you as well. Don't forget to download the resources from this incredible session. And also be on the lookout in your email for an overall conference evaluation a few days following NAF Next. You'll also be excited to know that these sessions will be available for a year for you to watch again or to share with colleagues that may be in another session or were unable to attend NAF Next 2020. We hope to see you at NAF Next 2021 in Phoenix. Thanks again for joining us, and it's an honor to support each of you and together strive to prepare all of our students to be future ready. Have a great day.